Hey Terry, this is another one. I'm hoping I'm gonna be able to get through this one a little bit quicker because we already went over some of this stuff in the other videos. And I hope that you don't take any offense of me replying this way. But again, I'm a talker, and this is just an easier way for me to go ahead and do it. And then for anybody else that might come on and think that I'm trying to be some kind of way, this is just to let them know where I'm basically coming from. So, you said it's not enough to call something bogus DNA, but you must prove scientifically. Uh, oh, I think I already read this one. Um, Maybe not. So, it's not enough to call something bogus DNA, but you must have specific. Well, I don't must have anything, or you know, um, I always say to each its own. Either it resonate with you or it don't. Um, Again, I know that I'm only speaking to a small group of people. When I'm speaking, they will automatically get what I'm trying to say. Um, Probably one out of the 2,000 that are probably on the page. So again, the way I treat my page is kind of like a notebook. So a lot of times I'm just jotting stuff down, maybe even sometimes that I want to go further into. So again, this is why I always say I'm not here to tell anyone what it is, what it ain't. I'm just sharing what it looked like to me. Again, like I said, you know, so I don't really want to prove or disprove anything to anyone. I just want to simply have people, think for themselves. So, but you must have scientific facts to disprove their lies. And again, some of the companies have already come out and described how the DNA actually works, and that it doesn't actually work the way that you think it does, and that we've been given the notion that this DNA test can go back and trace things that may not be the case. Okay, so again, I don't really deal with DNA. I know that they can use your DNA for whatever they want, science experiments and whatever the hell they want to after you give it to them. So again, I'm somebody that's going to refrain from that. My thing is genealogy is key. So my thing is probably important, even though you may not be able to go back before 1619, but it's very important for people to go ahead and do their own research. Go ahead and listen to if there's anything in your family that states that you might have something else in your blood. Go ahead and do your family tree if you can, and then start from there. That's what I feel. But again, you know, to put the picture up for comparison was just that. This is not, we're not proving anything. This is not a life or death situation for me to prove that this girl look exactly like this girl. And what is this to say? You know what I'm saying? So this is just little, stuff to make people think, basically. It's just dropping uh, jewels or gems or whatever you want to call it, to make people want to look into this and look into their own, uh, basically take a peek into your mind and see how it's operating, and see how basically we've been lied to. Because again, no one is asking to prove a DNA test or prove that my name is on uh, the list from these ships, or to prove that we came from Africa and show us the routes and show us a slave ship. No one is asking these people that have deceived us. And or of course I'm not going to have as much information as they have, because I am not the one that have taken everything from a people and then given them some BS in the place of that. So of course they are going to have the upper hand all the time. I'm not the one that have been given hundreds of years to indoctrinate a whole nation of people on the way that I want them to think and what I want them to think about this world, about them, about their parents, about their ancestry. I'm not the one that did this. So, of course, it's going to be harder for me to prove something to a person that does not want to hear it. Now, what I can do is prove that there was, at the time when they were putting together this curriculum that they would have you memorize and regurgitate, to generations and generations of your family members in order to give you the perception of things. Um, uh, I would have to say that, of course, they're going to be able to have the upper hand. They're going to have more people thinking the way that they want them to think than little old me giving out some information to have people rethink things. Most people, okay, most people are going to just not even pay attention to these posts and go along with their daily activities. Those are not the people that I'm speaking to when I'm speaking on this level and in this realm. I, that's just, of course, I would love for them to take notice and maybe go ahead and do their own research, but I'm not going to force anybody to do anything. Mainly, I put this stuff up here, like I said, for notes for myself. If I'm on something, I will put it on my page so that I can remember, or just, if someone else may have been on this journey and I see them asking some questions, I might put it out there so that they can maybe have a piece to a puzzle or something of this sort. They can do what they want with the information. So again, that's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to prove anything scientifically. Nobody had to prove anything to us scientifically to tell us that we were from Africa. And if you start adding up the science, it doesn't make sense. There was not enough time. There was not enough ships. There couldn't have been this many people brought over here. And then to go back into their own records and see that they never brought millions of black people over here from Africa anyway, that's already a shot in the foot. So that gives me the leeway, and gives me the incentive to go ahead and do a little bit of a deeper research. Okay, so again, what are they gonna go ahead? Am I gonna look at these records and see that my teacher lied to me and millions of other people over this time? That black people, white people, all types of people, and then I'm just not gonna say anything about it when I think that I know what is done to me in my life and how it's changed me in a sense, along with a lot of other things that I've gone through over the past couple of years. And to think that you have a different demeanor and swag about yourself when you know who you are and where you maybe came from. So again, no one had to prove that we came from Africa. So why are so many people so upset and want us to prove otherwise when most of us are putting out information, tons and tons of information on a daily basis, many times a day, that can disprove what these people have told you? But again, no one's going after the government to ask them why they lied about certain things and why they can't give us research and why they can't open up a free database for us to do our own ancestry and why they can't provide things for us to go ahead and do our research. No, they're coming at people that are just trying to bring out information in order to invoke thought. And that's just ridiculous to me. That shows you a level of mind control that people are under, especially in America. So because these picture comparisons are ridiculous, and it's really not. I mean, we'll go ahead and look. This is a spitting image of this girl. If this was a so-called American Indian back in the 1800s or so, and this is a young lady from today, this is a very telling thing here, okay? To someone that is already vibrating on a certain frequency. And this is why I like to talk about things like that. Everybody's not on the same playing field when it comes to this information. Some of us have been doing this for a long time, and we don't have the proper way to unindoctrinate people that have been indoctrinated by certain ways of thinking. So we just like to invoke thought and put out the information that we have found. Okay. And I don't see anywhere. I just said, funny thing is, her genes say she's American, but I bet, and I could have put her phenotype, but I bet that bogus DNA test will still try and point her to Africa again. And the thing is, they're not correcting people by thinking that that high number of African, that high percentage of African in the DNA test is actually the newest introduced portion of your DNA. They're not going in and explaining these things to you and breaking it down. They give you a sheet with some numbers. Most people just get excited and get aroused off of that one part, and then they go ahead and think that they know what this test is saying, and they go about their business. And these companies know a lot of these things that they do to us, meaning the people that run this world. Okay, they know where it's gonna lead. It's just a runaround. Okay, it's just to give you some kind of fulfillment. Oh, the guy that ran one company said it's just for entertainment purposes only. So again, you can go ahead and take your chances. I'd rather go ahead and try to do my family tree or do genealogy, and that's why in the post I put genealogy is key. And yes, the own companies have come out and basically shown that it's a hoax by the answers that they provided when it came to the fact of how they can tell for sure. Now, who knows what that's all about? But again, and when it goes to the database that they're using. Now, at one point in time, there was about 500 tribes here in the Americas, but the database that they're using on the to determine if you're Indian or not, again, is of people that are not even the original aboriginals of this land. They are immigrants. Some of them could be full blown immigrants from somewhere else that have been placed here and just taken on a title in order to keep you from it, right? And this is why they chose to reserve them or keep them on reservations at some point in time. So, again, once you learn what native means, maybe in etymology, then we'll know that native does not describe the original peoples of the American landmass prior to colonization. Okay? So, but like I said, they're still going to make you feel the perception that that high point of African in your blood or in your DNA is saying that that's where you're from. When again, I have read in different uh, uh, writings and seen in different interviews that again, that percentage, the lowest percentage is usually the oldest, not the less. Okay, but nobody's breaking that down to people. Okay, so but we don't know for sure, whatever, because again, who owns these companies? Who owns the companies? So what does it really even matter? You know what I'm saying? And this is why I say genealogy is key. You can get the DNA if you want to, but again, just know that in the small print, they can use your DNA for cloning practices or whatever the hell they want to use it for. And that's just why I choose not to do it at this point in time. And then this part says you got Indian in your family, or Indian got, or do Indians got you in their family? Again, a lot of times we put these memes up. I didn't make the meme. This person probably didn't even make the meme. We're just sharing information. So when people come at you and say, well, you could have used this word or you shouldn't use black, it's ridiculous. I'm still talking to some so-called black people that think that they're black. I'm going to use those terms in order to have them um uh what do you call it? People we know by doing studies on uh mm, when it comes to psychiatry, that people, okay, tend to stop and look at something that has something pertaining to them. Okay, same reason why a lot of people are not affected by some of the things that go on in some communities, because it's not affecting them. They don't wait to actually put their foot down and get active until it actually happened to someone they know and it's too late. So again, a lot of this passive energy that we're dealing with is because of some of this brainwashing and some of this manipulation that we've been under for generations and generations. So again, a lot of this is just about breaking the boundaries and letting people know that you are in some form of a matrix. Okay, and we just want you to take a deeper look. So again, if this is an American Indian at that point in time, and someone will say that this girl is all African and she don't have, and I don't even know if she did a test yet. I'm just, what I'm saying, we just put it up here to strike up a conversation. Okay. So let's see. Okay. Putting pictures to disprove and putting up pictures, and okay, and the biggest problem is there's no black folks out there doing the scientific work, again, because a lot of something that the spirituality that we're lacking, a lot of us are getting that connection back, and we don't need, or nor do we want or choose to decide to do the scientific work. Because what is the scientific work if the whole construct that you're under is if the whole world is a stage and the whole construct that you're under has been uh I want to call it penetrated, but there's another word that I was looking for. It's rigged. Okay, so the whole construct is rigged. Okay, so and is rigged to keep everybody deceived, but mainly the proper um, uh, heirs of this landmass. Okay, and this is why it's not really because of the color of your skin that they do a lot of things that they do to us. Is because, like I always say, it's not um, that they don't fear you because you're so-called black. They fear you. They fear the day you want your land back. Okay, so again, this is the whole play: riches, resources, um, the mines and the using people or the Aboriginal people for food, because food can also be something that fuels a and like I say, we're in the belly of the beast. Um, some of us are still in there mentally and physically, and some of us are breaking away from it. So you know, um, yeah. So yeah, some of us don't want, and just like this whole thing with the whole economic thing that, now since we're waking up, we're feeling like, oh well, and I have felt this way too. And for I've been really going deeper on meditating on the notion as to why haven't we been able to connect. Are we supposed to connect, or is this something that you have to do within yourself? Again, if the temple is within you, is this something that we need to drop all of uh the extrovert uh uh idolatry and worship and all this other stuff, and go back within and use that power? Um and once you change yourself, your children, you're going to change the way you do things in your household, in your life. So we're setting up the youth, even if we don't get to see this change. Is this something that is supposed to be a connection? Are we supposed to be trying to buy up the block or do all these other things? When it comes to joining their economic flow, when I don't think that this was ever built for us, and I don't think that it is for us, and I don't think we necessarily really want this. um for some of us, okay, for some of us that are really going and stripping back this whole thing, I think that I think we can see that a lot of us are doing work on ourselves, and it's improving all the other things on the outside of your on the physical realm, okay, by improving the mental, and going back to the core, and looking deeper within, because I think we all have to start from there before anything can change. Um, Yeah. So we who know you better than you know you, who know your people better than you know your people. See, a lot of people, I think that there's a lot of people that would be willing to help or give, may even be dropping information. But again, some people are still have a sort of fear that if power was exchanged, that some people would do something to them that has been done to them in the past. And just to make reference to this, I do believe in soul siblings, because I can be meditating on something and marinating on something for a couple days, and all I need is a couple more people that I run into randomly that are speaking the same thing that I'm speaking, and let me know. And that's just the universe, I feel, um, reassuring me or giving me a second, not opinion, but some sort of a confirmation that you're on the right track. And there are people out there that are like you and backing you and rooting for you. So even if they don't seem like they are, they are. So again, that might be getting off the subject, because I just like to, talk and vibe with people. But yeah, I don't think that the work is for us. And again, all of the stuff that has been set up has been formed to fit a certain narrative. Okay. And again, how would we fix this? um, how would we use that narrative that has been used to oppress us in order to free us? Again, I'm just turning into like a naturalist or something like this, like, because I'm really, done with the way that we think that we were supposed to be working our lives up until this point. Um, yeah. Um, just everything that we think we know is really a lie. And how you're going to get happiness and wealth, and how you're going to get, it's just kind of funny when you start looking at it. So until then, I'm guessing we just can go around calling things bogus. There must be a more intellectual approach. I'm just saying, and there could be. But again, I'm not trying to be all like I like to say, scholarly on y'all, because that's not me. And I'm not pretending to know nothing. I'm just sharing what I feel is very interesting, or what someone else might like to know. And they can pick up the information or leave it there. I don't feel like I ever really try to give any misinformation. And again, um, whenever I go into depth on my channel, I usually say these things as a disclaimer before I even start. Um, so yeah, I could have taken that, but I didn't feel like it. This is Facebook. It's not like that we're on some kind of science forum or something like this. It's just Facebook. And again, most people are not even going to read these posts. Most people that are on my page are not even going to read these posts. So again, sometimes I'm just putting something out really quick to document it for myself. And other times, I'm trying to reach other people. But I'm never trying to force feed anything. So the picture comparisons are ridiculous, and that's to each his own. Some people have been able to be more open-minded to the fact because of the picture comparisons, and they've come into the community they've come into the community and are actually digging up beneficial evidence or information and passing it on to other people now. So again, to each his own. Nobody's saying anything serious in this post. We're just saying, yeah. The funny thing is, this is going to happen. And then this person is saying, so which one is it? You got Indian, nothing serious about this post. It's just like, this is what Indians look like. Well, damn, they've been showing us these other kinds in our books with this certain hair all the time. So again, yeah. So right now, DNA is all we have, and it's really not, because genealogy, like I said, is key. By the way, if DNA is bogus, they never would have admitted that black folks' DNA show blacks are the oldest race on Earth, the first on Earth. And again, I missed that memo. I missed that memo. I know that they have the Darwin theory, and some people are with that, and some people go, and then some spontaneous combustion kind of thing, and then some people think about, the creation story is God's story, when I clearly see it as a creation on top of a nation that was already there in Genesis in the beginning. So I feel like it's then their beginning of whatever they were doing in order to take over the so-called world. um, so yeah, so I don't know. Well, the oldest bones, I guess, they are saying it. But then again, if most so-called black people, like you said, are not in the science field, and they really usually don't end up being archaeologists, and if they are, they don't end up on these digs and on these sites and everything like this, then still, of course they're going to have to let some information out. But what does it do to say that they're oldest on the race? Well, most people that are so-called black are going to do is take that in as a prideful thing and say, yeah, we the oldest, and they're not going to do no more research with it. And then some of us are trying to do more research, but every time we turn around, it feels like people are just coming at you, which really I've already prepared for, so I really don't, get all in my feelings about it. It took me a long time to get here, but again, my information is my information. My truth is my truth. Everybody has to do their own research and find their own truth. So again, just because they say that doesn't mean it. That's just common sense. We already know that you can't take two white people and put them together and get a brown child, but we know that you could put two light skinned people together and get a dark child, or you could put a dark skinned and a medium skinned person together and get a light skinned child. So again, you can't get dark from light, but you can get light from dark. So this is just common. This is one thing that can really, I can just bank on common sense, really, unless somebody's done something to change some DNA or do something that we still don't know about to this day. This is the only way that it could have happened. So let's see. Given for years, white folks said they were the first. Whites put out a lot of lies, and really, I don't really remember. I've never run into the fact of white people saying that they were first. They might say that they had first dibs, or they were the first people to do a certain thing in a certain landmass, but I don't recall them saying. I think that it's kind of sad that these governing forces make it feel like make them feel like they don't know where they come from when they know good and damn well. Because a lot of people still ask the question, where do white people come from? I just want to know. And again, is it because you don't want to say who they came through, or uh, in that the beautiful blue eyes and all these other things, and the lighter hair and the fairer hair, is more of a recessive thing? Um, do we not want to talk about something here? Have we all been here all over the world, all different? You know what I'm saying? So again, I'm not biased to anything. I'm going to take in information until the day I die. So yeah, I think it's kind of sad that they don't. We feel like we want to know more at this point. Nobody's telling us that we do. We feel like there's a change, there's an awakening going on amongst the people, amongst the masses in general. But again, I feel like it's sad that they left out the fact that so-called white people were slaves here and how they were treated horribly at a certain point in time too. Because again, that's given them the perception that, or it's molded them into feeling like something that may be a lie. Same thing with us. This molded us, thinking that we're from another landmass and we've been yearning for that landmass, has done something mentally to us. Even thinking that slavery happened the way it did does something. So again, perception is everything. Nothing had to happen the way it had, that they say it did. They just had to be able to sell you on the perception of what it was. They have to give you the perception that DNA is something that can tell you something that who am I? I'm not a scientist to know, what formula they're using and how they're doing a test and if this could go wrong and da da da. Da. So again, I don't really look too deep into that kind of stuff because that's not my area. Um, excuse me. Uh, and I think that there's all different sorts of DNA tests. Are we taking the proper test to get the proper information? That's another question that I would like to ask. How do you know which test is best? From what I hear, the test that they're using is not even the most accurate one for the thing for genealogy. So again, I'm not sure. Uh, so they never would. And again, like I said in the other video, I don't even know if I'm going to post that one or if I could say everything I wanted to say in this one. When it comes to DNA, it goes by the database, and the database is not in being fair because it's not including the old bones that they're digging up out of the ground. It's not including the darker view people that were here prior to 1492 or 1619. Is not including any of that. They're using the DNA makeup of a couple of people. At one point in time, again, there were over 500 tribes here. So who are they to pick 5 tribes that they're using their blood or their DNA from? Who even knows if they're original to the land, because they're using the term Native American, which means that they are not the originals. So of course my blood and my DNA is not going to match with these people. If you took people from Mongolia or Siberia or some other place and brought them here and placed them on a reservation to preserve their DNA, and then you want to go ahead and test those people up against mine, then that's not going to be, you're right. I'm going to match the people in West Africa even more because more people after slavery went over there to Sierra Leone and Liberia and to establish themselves or a new colony, and the fact that they were taking people from here on all those expeditions that Columbus and other people did. They would kidnap people and bring them over to Africa as well. So, yes, my bloodline would be, but for me to think that is because of the transatlantic slave trade and these same tribes of people stayed there for hundreds of years waiting for somebody to come back on the surface or the shore to kidnap more of their people that have been doing this for a long time, and they didn't build some kind of mechanism where they could stop these people on their own lands before they even get to the shores. That sounds a little bit ridiculous to me. I would think that those people would have moved and some new people would have moved in. So now a lot of us would also have Moroccan DNA. Or you trying to tell me nobody was visiting the perimeter at that point in time? Everybody always gets Nigeria or excuse me, some get linked to some kind of place like that is just like one of those prominent places. Again, they don't even show us really the mass amount of different uh, people that reside in those countries, and a lot of those people have phenotypes of Chinese, straight up Asian people. I think I did something on this a while back. So again, who is what? So they can do all the other DNA that they want to. If they're just being specific about who they're testing you against, then, that just is ridiculous. So they should probably, like I said, test some of the oldest bones here, and they should probably do other things in order to get these DNA tests. But if they're just using that small database, then that's just a little bit ridiculous for us to believe that. Again, where are the records? I know you have them. Show them to me. Um, okay. If you let prejudice come into your understanding like white folks, then your information will be just misleading as theirs. And again, I don't deal with prejudiceness. I have white people in my family. Anybody that don't like that can really freely, and they're bothered by that enough where they don't want to deal with me, then they can just go ahead and exit the page. Um, I'll never take back um, any mixtures or anything that happens in my family. No one can go back. We weren't there when anything was happening with your family, to know if anyone had mixed. So again, I think that really, and I'm going to say this, and some people may not like it, the whole thing is unity. It's not just unity of the so-called black man and woman. I think we have to start with ourselves first. Repair yourself. Nobody's going to do it for yourself, and there is no other savior besides you in my eyes. So we need to start repairing ourselves, and then that will assist in repairing our family and the whole dynamic and the makeup of the family. And I think that is important for us because, like I said, there's so many other things that are lacking. Although everyone has been misled, all races of people, okay, and have been affected and enslaved and done wrong. Again, that's what they put us here to do, to be the worker slave races. Again, but they do have their favorites that they put on pedestals enough, but they'll never make it to the level where the elitists are. So again, we're dealing with a caste system here. The caste system is one of the oldest forms of slavery that was set up long ago, and it was set up by the creator God. Okay, so you can take that how you want to. And what it does is the system moves into an area, and then they basically set up shop by first thing that they have to do is cut down those big old trees. And when I say that, I'm saying the family trees of the aboriginals that were in that landmass, and they put them at the bottom of the pyramid, and then they bring in more people like themselves, or they create separate sub races, and then they use those people for a certain thing, but they always put foreigners and immigrants and sub races and other people above the aboriginal, the dilete, or the undesirable, untouchable, what they call them, street sweepers, or latrine cleaners. So they put them above that prisoner of war. The whole thing about the slavery thing, I just feel like the American Negroes were prisoners of war more than anything, because they came to your land and they enslaved you that way. For most of us, okay? Excluding the 250,000 that came over during the slave trade. And this is why I say the slave trade was fabricated, because in school we were given the perception, why perception is everything, that millions came over here, when we're seeing that their own their own numbers don't match up, and they're saying that there was only 250,000 or so in total during the entire slave trade in North America. So again, that's something you have to talk to them about. That means that we couldn't have all been. And the way that the numbers of the people doubled within a small amount of time will let you know that it was more about classification than it was about relocation. So, yes. And again, they don't tell you about the numbers of people that they moved from the Americas or North America to the West Indies or the Caribbeans or to Africa or different places in order to stop some of the revolts or rebellions that were going on. So again, more people were moved out of America than that were brought in. Okay, and this is my opinion from the things that I've read. So let's see. Oh yeah, and so the thing is, I'm not biased and I don't do prejudice. It just may seem like one is being prejudiced because they're trying to uplift their people because you've been given a sense to not like the way it would feel if these particular people would be themselves and start focusing on themselves and rejuvenating and reviving themselves. No one's going to really even be ready for what's going to occur amongst the people. And I don't think that it's going to be a violent situation unless someone else makes it that way. By using their mass media manipulators, such as the news and other things, to fuel this discomfort and this fear that they use to control the masses, especially those who are at the bottom of the totem pole. Okay, so yes, that's not my thing at all. And I feel sad for people that are still in that mindset. A lot of us are waking up, but we just can't let go of that anger or that hurt, or even that the whole dynamic that we've been fed that white people have power. So-called everyday white people don't have power. They only want the same things that we want: to have healthy children, have a good life, do what they need. Most so-called white people, like I said, they don't have no power. Even if there's a few that don't like black people, who cares? You can't do anything to me legally or anything to me today. So really, I think it's more of the people at the top do not want us to get along and come together and start looking at the top instead of looking at each other and bickering back and forth about, well, black people do this and white people do this. Oh, white people do this and black people. A lot of times it's going to feel like, if you're on this page, that that's what I'm doing, but it's absolutely opposite of what I'm doing. It's just people are in their own mind thinking about themselves and how they feel instead of looking at everything on a level of all togetherness, not knowing that they have prejudices that are coming out because they're hearing something that I'm saying that might strike them and make them feel uncomfortable, but it is nothing but the truth. And again, like I said before, everyday white people don't have no power. They've been enslaved here in this country too. They just have not they have not made several movies and steadily reminded them of this because they want them to have a certain mindset. So again, we've all been misled in our own way to hurt ourselves and others unknowingly, and some people unwillingly. So on that note, that I would never have that kind of feeling. Why? And if I did, I don't have the power to control anybody's lifestyle or any kind of way. And from what I see, so-called white people can't do it either. And I mean everyday white people. And we have to remember that there were also dark-colored people on those ships that were coming over here to the Americas. So let's take that into consideration. And let's just remember that some of those bloodlines are still very current in our story. Okay, and they are very very much so, maybe look like you, but they may not think like you and act like you, and they may not be for you, but they're here to give you the perception that they are, because they're being used as pawns in the game, or center players on the stage. Okay, so whenever they need to get so-called black people worked up or to go this way and that way, they bring out a black entertainer, again, that is more than likely, very much likely, more than likely, a foreigner, that is a part of a bloodline, okay, of the people that have come here in order to deceive you. And I said, one day we're going to wake up and we're going to figure out that the whole time it could have been someone that looked like us that was behind the whole scheme of what's happening to the American Negro today. Because there was also different things going on amongst the different countries, and who knows what was going on, and who knows who's really pulling the strings of all these sheep behind the scene, or all these puppets. So yeah, so that's not, and I know that part. I know that. So I do agree with you. If people cannot let go of that whole thing about white people this and that, when you really got heavy feelings about it, and you just want to hate white people or whatever, or you don't think that they, and again, we don't like to hear this as well. But a lot of things that people have, other races of people that have been saying stuff to us over time, we don't want to hear it because it's coming from certain people. Just like we don't want to hear information about our history from our people. We'd rather get upset with our people, some of us, than to listen to what their plea or what they have to say, um, or laugh at them behind their back or something, instead of listening to what they have to say. So on that note, again, I keep saying on that note because I think I'm so freaking tired, but I just wanted to get this over with tonight. So uh, yeah, yeah. So, anyways, yeah, that's not my angle at all. Um, I know that they're just modern day slaves, just like us. Um, but there are different things that has happened more heavier. There's been a heavier hand used with the American Aborigine because, again, this is your stuff. So people can deal with facts, or let their dislike of white people allow them to accept misinformation just to feel good about who uh, they think they are. And again, that's not me. So, um, yeah, I don't dislike anybody. And really, I feel wholeheartedly and deep down that it's going to take the unity of all of us to look at the top of this pyramid. And I'm going to tell you what pyramid it is. In order to defeat this thing, it's going to take us all to see things the way they clearly are. And this is the way that it is. This is the system that we're set up under. These are the puppet masters. Here are their tools. This is why this whole thing with this dollar bill and that eye is on the back of your dollar bill. I don't know if it has to do with your pineal gland or your third, some people call it the third eye, or whatever it is, because they didn't have to change really anything in the Bible, I like to say, in those Not Your Mama Bible studies. They didn't really have to change the text, they just have to change your mindset. And so that's what they worked on first. And then they sent in the militias and the warriors, and the kings, which would be your president, and then your police officers and your military personnel today. And then the merchants and the landowners and things like this. And I look at this as like the the tax collectors, and you know the uh, the merchants or the corporations that we work for as slaves every day, and um, you know they sell to us, and we um, pick up all these materials and consume so many things and stuff. So I think that's what that is. Sudra is the commoners, the peasants, and the servants. This are the native races that are connected to a landmass, either by being bred through uh, immigrants, aliens, and so on. And then these are the people that have been put at the bottom. This is the enmity between the two, because this one is still on top. But again, this is why you'll see in America that the so-called Negro stays right down here, while everyone else comes in and gets grants and loans and gifts and all kind of things in order to start businesses and things like this. Some of the things are our fault while we haven't advanced, but other things are put into uh, structured, uh, other things are put into play where, what can I say? Uh, this construct has made it harder for us to obtain things. And it's not because the color of your skin. Again, I feel like it's because of the status, and who you are and where you're from. So let's see. Okay, then your information will be just as misleading as theirs. And again, I'm not here to mislead anyone. I am here to connect with deep thinkers that are already thinking, um, and to provoke those that are maybe on the fence to go ahead and jump over, because there are other people out here like you, that can understand you and vibe with you. So people can deal with facts, and again, what is a fact? It's a fact that everything that we know is a pretty much we've been deceived in some way, shape, or form. So there, in my eyes, there's no such thing as there might be a factual information or something like that, but as far as facts, who knows the facts? Only thing I can make claim that is a fact is if I was there to witness it happen. Okay, even though they say people walk with Jesus, I wasn't there, so I don't know. This could be a story that was put together to have me think this. I was not there. Again, if Jesus walked with someone or God walked with someone, I was not there to witness this. And we use logical thinking and we use realistic thinking approach to everything else that we do in our everyday lives. But when it comes to the religious aspect, and again, religion is the toxic poison that has been used to deceive people forever, for a very long time. So now I separate religion from the Bible, because now with my new uh, mind and my new and activating and using all of my eyes and really listening and going within and resonating in a different area here with my thinking. Now I see things differently in that book than when I was fast asleep. So I separate religion from the Bible. The Bible is really opening up my eyes to a lot of things. Now, it's not your mama's Bible study, so it's not the things that is not even clear near anything that you've been taught in your churches. So those of you that are there in that form of an indoctrination station, you're not going to agree with me. You're going to say she's totally insane. What is she doing? She's blaspheming. She's doing this and that. But again, it's none of that. It's just speaking and showing and bringing forth things that you've never really been privy to before. So, you know, it's again, once you lose that fear of that heaven or hell aspect and you realize that you're already in hell, um, and these people are in the heavens, and these are the people that work in the temple of God, and where you reside forever, you're supposed to, then, and once you see how these people work, you can use it like a master key, or like a answer key. Once you know how they work and how they've been doing things, then it really helps see a lot of things. So I know I'm getting off track, but yeah. So I'm not misforming anybody, and it's not really everyday white folks that have been deceiving people with um, any type of writings. Really, they don't really still even have the power to either. Most, they write stuff, but again, they don't have the. And a lot of white folks was writing about are the ones that dropped these jewels a long time ago in these old texts and these old books. That's opening up our eyes to the fact of who we were. So if everybody hated us so much back then why would they do such a thing? Why would they put their life on the line to do such a thing? So again, freedom fighters and what's his name? I don't think it's John Brown. Maybe it is. I've been looking into his story a little bit. So again, I mean, I think the last thing they want us to do is know that there was unity amongst the people prior to this governing force, religion, indoctrination, schools, and all these other things. Okay, until we let people get into our heads. Okay. So again, I think the last thing they want us to do is unite, and this is why they keep talking about this race war that hasn't happened, is not going to happen. They don't tell you that the KKK was specialized militia placed in certain areas to take care of certain things by your governing forces. Again, it was not just everyday random people that lived on the corner and said, "Oh, I want to go catch me some niggers." It was not that way. That's just the perception that they gave us, and we didn't ask any questions, and we just kept it that way. And then now it's a very uncomfortable topic for people that have been blamed for this stuff for all this time, and they don't have the power to do any of these things. It's always been the haves against the have nots. Okay? And again, these are the haves. These corporate so-called entities, and these are the have nots, and these really don't have nothing. They're basically dead by law. Okay? These are the people that represent that coffin that's sitting underneath George Washington's feet in that image that I keep showing you guys of him. I think it's called, I usually Google Illuminati George Washington, and you'll see what I mean. So, let's see. Yes, there are jet black Indians, but they are a whole lot different phenotype. I mean, I'm not sure about that because a lot of the images that I see of some of these people, even when the hair was a little bit straighter, remind me of a lot of people that I know. Uh, yes, okay, so Indians of North America came through the Bering Strait. And I think that's also talking more about the Eskimo. The term is different. It's hard for me to pronounce, but I think we're really talking about the Eskimo Indian, the Eskimo Indians that maybe came in through the Bering Strait, the USSR Bering Strait. But then again, I have questionable doubts about our maps. They've changed over time, and I have come up with some new information today that has my mind going 100 miles per hour. So on the fact of what was really going on over in the West. So anyhow, let's see. Blacks, the first Americans came through the Atlantic Ocean. And again, I find it hard to believe. In fact, I was just reading a book, and I think I might already put this up on the channel, about the fact that they were saying they can't even go across the Atlantic. Hopefully, within in the future, or when we have better, uh, uh, I would think they were talking about boats. Then maybe they'll be able to pass through the Atlantic. And this is after the slave trade supposedly happened. So again, I beg to differ. There's no proof still. Where are the slave ships? Where are the dockets? A lot of the paperwork actually says that these people came from either the Americas down into the West Indies, or from South America up the coast and stuff like this. There's really not even that many documents that are pertaining to taking anybody across there. And again, why would they? The easiest route to take would be to come down the coast, go down into uh, around the Gulf of Mexico, or I forget what that crest is called there. But I've read that there's some kind of current that will take you straight over to Africa. And again, the distance is not even that far. Why would anybody go the way that they saying that they did? And again, I'm starting to see a lot of stuff that is pertaining to the North, and I'm trying to figure out really what we really talking about here, and how did people really come through up and through here. So yeah, it's like being a babe again and acting like you don't know much, and that just means emptying that dirty old cup and filling it up with some fresh, clean water. Um, so let's see. In South American Indians from the Aboriginal Australians, the uh, the reason North American and South American Indians look different. Okay, so again, then we have to also realize that the people that are there now, that represent those places now, are not or nowhere near close to the people that were there when before colonization. So there has been a long amount of things that has happened, and those people are clearly not the original people that were there prior to. Don't mean that they don't belong there. Again, The only real people that don't belong are the people that are here pulling the strings. Okay? If they came into the Americas and used the soil or the earth, because I consider, um, from that whole biblical aspect, I consider us being the earth. And if you look at the concordance with the Bible in Genesis, that word can be interchangeable with inhabitants of a land. So again, a lot of times when you think that we're talking about dirt, you're actually really talking about the people. Most times in the Bible, I feel it's talking about people. Um, but again, some of these races are offspring of the actual people. So, who is someone that came from another place, a total 100% foreigner, to tell some of these people who they are and where they belong and what they should do, especially when it comes to the so called Mexican brothers and sisters or people that. That we want to keep on a certain side of the border when who the hell are you? You know what I'm saying? You just came here, stole somebody's stuff, and gonna tell them that they cousins can't come across the border. So again, when we realize this, and this is the worst thing that they want you to realize, this is when it will be a problem for them. Because uh, although they want to try to say you're the 17% or the 11% of the population, let's see how much of a percent these people are, the elitists or the ones that are on top or the 1%ers. Because again, they can't have a nation rising up against this. And then even when it's if and when it's taken down, uh, people think that we can't live without this governing force for some reason. Like we're just gonna go nuts and kill everybody. Don't mean that we don't have to have something set up, but come on now. What we have this raping of the people and misusing the people and imprisoning. We got the biggest prison system in the world. And they're treated worse than anywhere in the world. Okay, so again, all of these things are problems that were bestowed upon us from these people that are so-called in charge. So if you think about that narrative and maybe going back to bartering and trading and just something that have to do with us not dealing with that construct or that entity, you don't even have to do an uprising. All you got to do is cut back on almost every damn thing and connect with each other and build with each other, and then let's see what happens or how they can stand. So again, um, thanks for commenting. I hope that you don't take offense to the way that I responded, but it's just easier for me to do it this way. So again, I want to thank you for commenting and participating. And yeah, so I hope you have a better view on what I'm trying to say. Um, about these posts or whatever. And again, I would have probably commented back, but you had a lot of different posts and it was a lot of different information, so I decided to just do it this way. So yeah, on that note, I'm gonna say goodbye and take care.